For a long time, humans and trolls actually lived in peace, but that changed when Christianity spread through Europe and stopped tolerating the old myths. King Olaf of Norway sent his soldiers to drag the trolls out of their caves and into the sunlight, which instantly turned them into stone. The soldiers scoured the country to kill every last one, and soon trolls became terrified of Christian symbols, like church bells. This massacre left the land completely empty of trolls. At least that's the bedtime story a father told his little girl, inspiring her to become a paleontologist. Fast forward 30 years to the Jotunheimen Mountains. A mysterious man enters a remote cabin. As he looks around, he's ambushed by Nora, who starts beating him up and even pulls a knife. She only stops when she realizes it's actually her old colleague, Andreas. He notices her table is covered in books about folklore and wonders what she's researching, but she's not talking. Andreas is there to ask for her help. 3 years ago, Nora's knowledge helped the military take down a massive troll found in the mountains. She was even part of the official troll commission, but she quit after realizing the new government was just as corrupt as the old one. Now she actually has a restraining order keeping her away from the palace. Andreas finds his own book among her things, and Nora
thanks him for dedicating it to her dad, who died in that last troll attack. Andreas points out her father would have wanted her to see what he's found, and Nora finally gives in. During the helicopter ride, Andreas makes Nora sign a non-disclosure agreement. Instead of her real name, she signs it Tiny Trolley Molly. They arrive at the Mort power station and meet Professors Moeller and Wangel, who were also there during the previous troll attack. The professors lead Nora down a tunnel, explaining that the Allied sabotage operations in World War II weren't actually about the atomic bomb. That was just a cover for the search for Yoon, a gargantuan troll that Nora is now seeing with her own eyes. The place is full of scientists, and they've installed massive UV lights for safety. The project leader, an evolutionary biologist named Marion, introduces herself and admits she didn't want Nora involved. Andreas argues that the project was stalling and about to be shut down, so he had to act. Marion explains the troll is hibernating with a slow pulse, but its DNA is weirdly closer to a plant than a human.
Then Andreas takes Nora to an office to meet Sigrid, another veteran of their last adventure. Andreas and Sigrid are a couple now, and she's pregnant. The room is packed with ancient texts, including King Olaf's original troll law from the year 1030. Part of it is missing, but it basically bans trolls from the land. The group is worried more trolls are hiding out there, and they want to be ready for another attack, so they need Nora's expertise. Unsure of what to do, Nora pretends she needs the bathroom, but actually sneaks back into Yoon's chamber. She takes an elevator to the highest platform and starts humming while touching the troll's nose. Nora's disappointed when nothing happens, but the computer picks up a massive spike in his vitals. Just as she's about to leave, Yoon wakes up and looks right at her. The team rushes in as the troll starts thrashing against his chains. Moeller tells the guard to blast the UV lights, but Marion doesn't want to kill her research subject, so she accidentally spills coffee on the controls. The machine sparks and the lights die. Nora hops in the elevator while the building descends into total panic. Yoon breaks his chains and smashes the elevator, sending the cabin flying. Nora manages to survive the crash, and Andreas has to pry the doors open to pull her out. Mahler grabs a rolling troll tissue sample before running for his life. Yoon is already stomping through the lab and steps right on Professor Wangel, killing him instantly. Andreas and Nora catch up with Sigrid and Marion on the stairs and bolt for the emergency exit. Yoon levels the building to get out, stares at the group for a chilling second, and then wanders off. A helicopter soon whisks the team to an Air Force base. They meet Chris, who's been promoted to major. While they wait, Nora starts ripping into Marion for not taking better care of the creature. They're interrupted by Prime Minister Brinman, who says he always knew this project was too dangerous. Marion still wants to capture it, but Nora points out that you can't control nature. Brinman wants to keep the research going, but his priority is public safety, so he orders the military to kill it.
Nora is furious because they killed an innocent troll last time. Brinman reveals he actually lost his brother in that attack and doesn't want to repeat the mistake. After the meeting, Andreas finds Nora holding a piece of stone. It's a fragment of the last troll they killed, and she keeps it to remind her of her errors. Andreas says he does the same thing because mistakes help you grow. Feeling inspired, Nora drags Andreas to Chris's mission briefing. Chris gives his team the attack plan. Nora asks to tag along, and when Chris says no, she tells him he owes it to her father. Marion joins them too, and Chris shows off their new secret weapon, helicopters equipped with massive UV floodlights. Meanwhile, at a ski resort in Buskerud, people are partying. Suddenly, the building shakes and a disco ball crashes onto the dance floor. The crowd hears growling before Yoon rips off the roof and peeks inside. Everyone starts taking pictures until Yoon roars and reaches inside, causing a stampede. People are getting crushed as parts of the building collapse. Yoon starts scooping up people and eating them whole. Just then, the helicopters arrive and blast him with the UV lights, burning his skin. They manage to pull this off twice before Yoon hurls a power pole at them, heavily damaging one of the choppers. Chris checks on the other pilot, who says it's been an honor to serve with him. The helicopter then goes down in a massive explosion, killing everyone on board. Chris is livid and wants revenge, but his own chopper is damaged. Nora talks him out of doing anything suicidal, and Yoon decides to retreat. Afterward, Chris visits the crash site to honor his friend. Marion can't believe how ruthless the trolls are, but Nora points out the last one wasn't like this. It just wanted to go home. She thinks they're behaving this way because humans have mistreated them for centuries. Andreas wonders if they can communicate with Yoon, and Nora says she knows someone who might help. In the town of Leia, a man has just finished rebuilding his house from the last attack. Suddenly, the ground shakes, and Yoon shows up, stepping on the house and destroying it all over again. The group arrives at a restricted military zone in the Dor Mountains. They find a hole in the fence and enter an old cave where Andreas finds a sticky substance on the wall. Nora explains this was a hunting pit used to kill the Troll King. They kidnapped his child and used it as bait to lure him to his death. Christian symbols were carved into the rocks to cause him pain. Nora says the Troll King actually survived that trap. He was the troll they fought 3 years ago, but the remains of the child were never found. Nora taps a stone on the ground and tells the others not to panic. Suddenly, a smaller troll appears. Nora has been visiting him for 3 years, so he'd trust him. She shows him his father's stone, and after he sniffs it, she gently pets his nose. When she hums, the troll makes happy noises. Andreas is amazed, so Nora teaches him how to do it. He hums and gets a great reaction from the troll. Since he doesn't have a name, Nora calls him Beautiful. Then she gets serious and asks him for a huge favor.
In Boverdalen, Nora sees Yoon approaching and fires a flare. Beautiful emerges from the snow and the two trolls have a standoff. Andreas wants to shoot, but Marion stops him. Beautiful roars, but Yoon just brutally stomps the ground to crack the ice. Nora falls while trying to run, and Chris has to help her up. Sadly, Beautiful isn't fast enough and falls into the freezing water, struggling for a few seconds before sinking. Yoon then turns on the group, so they bolt for the helicopter. As they take off, Yoon tries to swat them, but they dodge and fly away. Nora has a total breakdown as she watches the spot where Beautiful sank. At a medical base, Nora tells Marion that Beautiful wasn't a monster. He once came out of the cave just to sit and look at the stars before heading back where he felt safe. The group tracks Yoon's journey on a map, and Marion realizes he's on the Pilgrim's route toward Nidaros. Nora remembers her father's stories. Nidaros was the old capital where King Olaf ruled. This means Yoon is on a mission of revenge.
They fly to Trondheim to meet Esther, an old friend of Nora's dad. She shows them Nidaros Cathedral, also known as the heart of Norway. Back then, the church ruled the land with an iron fist. Since they're in a church, Chris leaves his guns at the door. Nora explains she's looking for Olaf's tomb, and Esther leads them underground. She's confused why the church hid Olaf's body, assuming they must have had a falling out. They enter an empty room that people have searched for years with no luck. Marion notices the same symbol from the cave, so they start looking for clues. They find a mural of King Olaf on the wall. Andreas touches it, and a piece falls out, leaving a hole in the king's stomach. Esther remembers that in his final battle, Olaf was wounded in the belly, thigh, and neck. She touches those spots, and more pieces fall out, revealing holes for the wounds. Nora sticks torches into the holes and turns them like keys. Mechanical noises grind inside the wall, and a secret door appears. They enter a hidden chamber and find Olaf's tomb sitting in the middle of a pond. Nora wants to open the coffin.
Esther thinks it's disrespectful, but Nora reminds her this is a national emergency. They push the heavy lid open and find Olaf's skeleton holding a silver sword. Since it's silver, it's not rusty, but it's also useless as a real weapon against a giant. Inside Olaf's pocket, they find the missing piece of the troll law. They send a photo to Sigrid, who pieces it together at the Institute. The full text reveals Olaf actually opposed kicking the trolls out, so the church killed him to carry out the massacre. Yoon isn't after Olaf. He's after all of humanity. Meanwhile, videos of the attacks have gone viral worldwide. Other governments are threatening to step in if Norway can't handle it. Prime Minister Brynman tells the press they're evacuating the Pilgrim's route, but he has no real plan. Chris gets called back to base, but ignores the order to stay and fight with his friends.
They wonder what Olaf used to fight trolls if silver was too weak. Nora remembers the pond and dips a knife into the holy water. When she touches the troll stone with the wet knife, it shatters instantly. Trolls are weak to holy water. Chris and Marion rally the evacuees for help, and the crowd cheers, ready to fight for their country. While Esther teaches Andreas how to ring the church bells, a bucket brigade forms to fill military trucks with holy water for their weapons. That evening, Yoon finally shows up and starts tearing down buildings. As he reaches the church, Esther and Andreas start ringing the bells, which deafens the troll and slows him down. The soldiers open fire with holy water rounds, causing painful burns all over Yoon's body. Yoon loses it, rips up a tree, and hurls it at the church, destroying the bells. Andreas and Esther barely escape. The soldiers keep shooting, but the holy water isn't as effective as they hoped. Chris detonates a line of explosives on the ground. The burns are severe, but the troll is still standing and charges the group.
Suddenly, a roar stops him in his tracks. Beautiful is back and ready to rumble. The two trolls clash in the river with insane strength. Yoon brutally punches Beautiful and throws him into the bridge, destroying the structure and sending Beautiful back into the water. Nora is desperate to help, but she's out of ideas. Marion remembers Yoon has a pulse and suggests attacking from the inside so the holy water can destroy his heart directly. They only have one bomb left, so they have to make it count. Yoon continues to beat on Beautiful, using debris as weapons. Chris and Andreas hop in the chopper while Nora and Marion provide a distraction on the ground. Chris banks the helicopter sharply and the holy water bomb accidentally slides out. Andreas catches it just in time, but the detonator falls onto the street and breaks. Now the only way to blow it is with a manual grenade. Andreas knows it's a one-way trip. He calls Sigrid for a final goodbye, but the call cuts out.
Beautiful passes out and the girls run out of ammo. Marion runs, but Nora refuses to leave. Chris flies the chopper right over Yoon's head and Andreas jumps into his mouth with the bomb and the grenade. The explosion sends holy water through the troll's entire system. As Yoon screams in pain, a recovering Beautiful reaches into his chest and rips his heart out. Yoon's body disintegrates into the river. Later, the church is being rebuilt and Esther opens an exhibit to tell Olaf's true story. Sigrid has her baby and Chris is the fun uncle. Beautiful is now allowed to roam the mountains and visits Nora's cabin all the time. Meanwhile, back at the lab, it turns out Moeller kept that tissue sample and it's already grown into a tiny baby troll. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more recaps.